Yeah.
Check.
Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to the Sandwich Town Council Finance and General Purposes Committee. In the absence of the Town Clerk, I've been asked to open the meeting. The agenda has been sent to you previously by the Town Clerk, and item number 1 is to elect a chair for this group, and I have a proposal already that's been given to me to put forward Councillor Colin Wiles as chairman of this group. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you very much. Okay, and all those in favour? All those in favour?
Sorry?
You
Yeah, the green colour.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Councillor Carter, could I thank you for the proposal, but was anyone else wishing to?
Oh, beg your pardon, yeah, was there any other proposals at all from the floor?
Well, I was just interested if there were any other candidates who just wanted to offer their services.
You're
because,
right, Peter.
you know,
Yeah,
the
sorry
proposal
about that, yeah.
was
I was rushing a bit there,
and
sorry.
in particular, I was interested if Councillor Pennington, who previously served on the Finance and General Purposes Committee, would, you know, have the vision and thoughts and would be interested to take on the role. And, you know, let you speak for yourself, Councillor.
That's it. Yeah, I was just putting forward the proposal that coming to the town clerk's office had been put forward earlier today. So I'm just actually reiterating what the town clerk asked you to do. But if there was another proposal,
firstly, I said I would be prepared to stand if no one else was prepared to take it on. I'm quite happy to go forward with Councillor Wiles as chair, and if I can give him any help or assistance, I will do so.
that's very gentlemanly of you. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Pennington. That's excellent news there. Karen, did you have the count for the vote? Okay, or did you need us to revote? Are you okay on that? Oh, super, that's excellent there. So with the chair being Councillor Wiles, I now hand over the chair to you, Councillor Wiles, to carry on the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carter, and thank you for voting for me. Could I just say that I think this committee is a very important committee. It has not met since December, but it was set up under the committee review last year, and obviously its remit is not just about finance, albeit that finance is the most important aspect, but it also has a remit to look at or to be in charge of key issues like personnel, like the assets that we own and that the Tollbridge Fund owns, which includes obviously the forecourt, and that's a key issue at the moment, the market, which is also a key issue at the moment, the IT provision, the standing order, which we have a working group in progress at the moment, and also the standing orders working group, which is going to be reporting fairly soon. So all these are very important aspects of our work, and obviously we have a lot to do over the next 12 months. So let's crack on. So item 2 is apologies for absence received.
No apologies have been received.
Okay, thank you. Next is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda. Any declarations? No, thank you. Next is the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee held on the 12th of December 2022, and to consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere in this agenda. That's attachment 1. Are there any matters arising? Councillor Anderson?
Well, it's not actually a matter arising, it's about the minutes. Because under 17/12/22, it says Councillor Anderson pointed out that the budget takes into consideration a more expensive HR provider. Well, I don't remember that as the main point I made. I can't remember making that point at all, actually. But what I do remember saying is that I thought that we should stay with Peninsula. So I don't know quite how that's drifted in. I know, Karen, you were the person saying
It was a long time ago.
it was a long time ago, and I haven't looked at the video, but I just don't remember saying, I was quite keen that we retained Peninsula, so I don't know how that drifted in, but I wondered if it could just be taken up, that sentence.
Okay.
I think Councillor Duker was first.
Mine was on the same action that was recorded, or the same section that was recorded. I just wanted to ask simply, were Peninsula actually agreed to continue as a provider? Because I don't know, there's a recommendation there. Is that what the outcome was?
Yes.
That's correct.
So, yeah, so that's done.
Can I just ask a supplementary, are we paying Peninsula a regular amount of money?
Yes,
Yes,
And how much does that amount to?
it's about £140 a month, including VAT.
That's all I wanted to know, thank you.
And then just a second point I was going to make is just a comment under the next one, which is 18/12/22. At that point in time, there was a discussion around tendering for IT services. I'll give an update of the IT support and digital communications working group, which will impact that recommendation that was made there.
Councillor Carter.
Yeah, I would like to propose these minutes because I was actually there for these minutes, and I just wanted to ask before fully proposing and voting on them whether Councillor Anderson did you want that amendment made? Because I don't remember you saying that either at the time.
Well,
So,
I mean, it is a long time ago, but I don't remember, it's certainly not what I intended to be noted. So if you could just strike that.
so I propose the minutes being taken forward with that amendment, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favour? Seconded, Councillor Franklin. All those in favour? So we have
I wasn't at the meeting.
couple of
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Next item is public participation. A 15-minute session is set aside for members of the public to make representations in respect of business on the agenda. Do we have any representatives? No public participation. Thank you. Item 6 is report of the Information Technology and Digital Communications Working Group.
Nice snappy title, Collins, isn't it? I'll just pick out some highlights from the reports. Everybody's had the opportunity to read it or not if they preferred. So the IT working group has met once. The second meeting was later this week. At the first meeting we agreed the chair and I accepted the role of chair for this working group. We discussed the terms of reference. There will be just a very minor amendment made to that, which will then be represented to this week's meeting. I've no doubt it will be approved. Some of the key points out in the meeting was that we agreed to move through each stage of the life cycle for the working group itself in a sensible and managed manner. What we want to do is avoid jumping into solution mode. It's so easy to do that, so we're going to do it in a intelligent way, building from the bottom up, and that sort of reflects on the fact of the tendering exercise being proposed back in December. Councillor Anderson, we want to start from base points and build up from there. So, on that basis, we agree that the second meeting, which is this week, will really only focus on user requirements. So we're going to capture as a group some of those user requirements for the website service and also for the IT support solution. The whole point being is, if you don't know what you want, you'll only be led by tendering companies in terms of what they want to sell you. So we want to get those right. And one of the things that we're offering is that if any members of the public have inputs, particularly around the website design from a customer perspective, more than happy for them to feed them in through the live stream later this week or emailing me direct. Happy to feed those into our user requirements. Yes, so one of the other things that we agreed was that once we've completed those requirements, we will want to inform separate re-tendering exercises. So we'll have a website provider. We'll also separately have an IT support provider. It's usually the standard way that you would do things. It gives the opportunity to have those running side by side rather than having all eggs in one basket. The final thing, this is really to feed into this meeting, Colin, is that we identified a gap. If it's plugged immediately by Karen, that would be brilliant, but I'm not sure it will be. We did identify a gap that there is no business continuity plan for the council. This is not just about IT, it's about anything that might happen and how we deal with any unexpected events. So at the moment, I know I don't have in front of me a list of other councillors' phone numbers. Equally, I don't know what the process is should I not be able to phone anybody that was a problem to resolve. It's all of those things around business continuity that we should have. Now, Karen's sort of looking at me in the sense that there might be a business continuity plan somewhere.
It's not a business continuity plan, but I would just mention that there's a risk register that will be going to the next council meeting, one for the town council, one for the Tollbridge Fund. And so it might cover some of those points.
It may well do, Karen, but I think there is an action here, Colin, for this committee to accept it's something that is needed, and then to commission some work either by the town council staff, or if there's somebody who's got capacity to actually take it themselves. Continuity plans are usually pretty straightforward, but are really the success of them is the content, not meeting the requirements of the design.
Colin.
Sure.
I just, because when I saw the word commission, I just thought, are we being asked to spend money? And I think you're making it clear that this is a document that will be extremely useful to all of us, but that it can be generated internally. Is that right?
Yes, that's
either
right.
by the
Yeah.
staff, or you're saying, or by a councillor. Is that what you're saying?
It's where the capacity lies, Claire. So the key thing is about identifying for the council what our essential services are, our essential functions. So if we had to strip those back because of an unplanned, unexpected event, what are those critical functions, and how do we make them operate?
Yes.
I mean, COVID is a really good example of where you had to do something differently.
Absolutely.
But we should have a clear document we've all got access to that's always ready.
I would very strongly
So I
support.
think if Karen is saying there's risk registers coming to the next 2 meetings, Tollbridge Fund and Council, we have a look at them and then see what additional work needs to be done. I mean, obviously the staffing situation at the moment doesn't allow for this to progress too much.
But what I would say was that also there might be other documents that I haven't been involved in producing that have been done by the old town clerk or the CEO that I don't know about that might be.
So maybe the first point is to do an audit and see if you have got a document, and if not, then one should be built in my reference. Okay. Yep.
I've got another question, but if you've not finished.
I haven't finished.
Okay.
I've finished on the meeting. What I was going to move on to is a meeting that I, with Simon Mallet and the town clerk, had with David Shaw. So if the question is...
Yeah, it's another, well, this is a general question.
Yeah.
In February 2022, in the by-election, part of our manifesto was to get the website right, because the foundational meeting of Sandwich Matters, a lot of complaints about the website, all of them totally justified. And we put in our manifesto in February 22 that we were going to do something about it. We tried in March to get it just updated. That failed. We were told it couldn't be updated because it was being reorganised. And then the whole thing went into complete abeyance. And people in the town have got more and more exercise time. So and we passed a resolution at this Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting in December that we were going to do something about it. And I'm not a great poster on Facebook, but I did actually post when people started raising it again. Don't worry, it's under control, it's going to happen, it will take a couple of months and we'll be there. So what I'm saying is that I really am a bit concerned that I absolutely agree we have to be thorough, we have to be impartial, we have to be focused, and we have to hear what people want. But I'm also saying that we really, really have to get a move on, because the situation at the moment, it's improved, but it's still done.
Okay, so maybe I can give an amount of comfort in terms of what I cover regards the meeting with David Shaw. But I would always be hesitant, I am hesitant about rushing ahead in the sense that we do have to base IT solutions on requirements. It's the standard way of doing things and it's the right way to do things. We haven't got a clear set of requirements for the website at the moment. I've already done my own piece of homework for this week's meeting with a long list for the website. Others I'm sure will feed in as well. So we will quickly get the requirements, but even a tendering exercise doesn't happen immediately. It does take time to mobilise a new solution.
Can I just come in there? Because we do know that there are 4 or 5, possibly more, website providers who do provide services for parish councils. So they will have their own experience of what is expected and what they can do. And I would have thought that would be very helpful and could actually speed up the whole process.
Yeah, and we've got the town clerk who has her own experience in terms of having employed a new website.
Yes.
So there is an amount of experience there, Claire, but I am really certain we can't have the tail wagging the dog on this, because even by you saying there's 4 or 5, I have investigated a number of websites recently, and the options of what you want, from basic, standard, premium, gold-plated. So there's all that out there as a market. We need to be clear about what we want to sandwich, in my opinion.
And the costs.
Oh, that was in brackets.
Value for money.
That was in brackets.
Okay, can we move on? If you can report on your meeting today.
Just make a comment. I hear what you're saying about establishing user requirements and not jumping to solutions. I must speak up on behalf of Karen, because she was kind enough to give me an induction into kind of the finance and the way things are done here. And Karen at the moment is labouring with spreadsheets and could really use a bespoke accountancy system which is suitable for town councils, and there are a number of solutions. So maybe at our next meeting, or maybe with the support of this meeting, we should give a prioritisation so that the RFO can produce the information that we as councillors need to be able to properly manage, and take account and be accountable for the finances.
Recognising the importance of Karen in this process, you have been invited, Karen, to the meeting this week. Hopefully you're able to attend, but you are invited to the working group. So we're taking in her requirements, in terms of what she would want to see.
Yeah, but what I would say is, as somebody who in my past career, I actually evaluated SAP on behalf of a FTSE top 10 company, or I was part of a team that did
What's
that.
SAP?
It's SAP. It's the major accountancy business system that's used by multinationals. And so I think there are a limited number of packages, and I think that kind of evaluation could go on in parallel with the main one.
Undoubtedly. Okay. So if I just...
Doesn't suit with the current. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I should have said.
Danielle's
I
an
just-
expert on
I-
SAP. She
Yeah, because I work with
put it in
SAP.
for Merrill Lynch
All right.
in London.
So I just,
Brilliant.
but that's for multinational company. I don't think it's suitable for,
No, I'm not suggesting
Yeah.
SAP, sorry, just to be clear,
I'm
I'm
just
just
giving an
saying,
example of what he's done.
in terms of evaluating the software package,
yeah.
you know, a finance package,
Yeah, most
you know, there are appropriate ones for town council.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I rattle on through the meeting that we had with David Shaw, and that was last week. It was myself, Councillor Mallet and the Town Clerk who met with David, and it was to discuss the current IT support arrangements and also the Town Council website. First I would say, David was very good. I've had alternative views given in terms of the gentleman. He was very positive, very open, very communicative and very accepting. So he was very open and honest about the relationship and the failings on the delivery side from his perspective. So I have no doubt that he wants to engage with us as we move forward. So what the key points out of the discussion were that he confirmed that we do not have signed contracts for either the IT support service nor for the website service. What he said was they are delivering on a 30-day rolling period to us, which means should we leave as a customer, there is only a 30-day notice period. But there is not a signed contract in place. He gave a history as to why that is, but that's where we are today. He also explained one thing I picked up in the meeting was why we were paying another company, which is Training Highway, when his company, Hibbits, are delivering the service. He said that's just the arrangement that was in place, and I demanded at that meeting, and he agreed that no future payments will be made without invoices, nor to Training Highway, it will go to Hibbits direct. That's the right way it should be, and he should be able to do that for you, Karen.
We have a standing order, so
Okay.
shall I cancel that?
What does that mean in terms of invoicing? So is that acceptable in terms of invoicing?
It has been, yes.
Okay. Right, okay.
Is a standing order to Training Highway or?
Well, it is.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right, yeah, so it has to be cancelled.
Yes, it has to,
Well spotted.
it have to be cancelled.
So, Karen, would you be able to speak to him? Because I don't want him to suddenly think, oh, right, we've got a gap in payments. Okay. So it will change, he agreed it will change immediately. Yeah. On the state of the current town council website, he agreed that the website falls way below our expectations and the standards that he wants to deliver. He referred to the work that he undertook, he said at no cost to the council. It got to the 50% stage and it was cancelled by the council. That was his view of what had happened. But what he has said is he will refresh that and show it to us if we want to see it. I'm not sure we want to go in that route, but what I did agree, Claire, was that the temporary fixes that are needed, he will do those with me providing guidance on what we need to change now that can be done easily. Okay. He's going to provide us with copies of the SLA, so in the absence of signed contracts, he will provide us with copies of the standard contracts, so at least then we have the reference points in terms of the SLA delivery. The only final thing I was going to mention on the hardware, he did point out that the tablets, iPads that people use are close to end of life. So as a council, we should be thinking about what it is we want for the future. He wasn't making a pitch for sale, but he said, because mine collapsed, well sorry, he's still got mine collapsed last week, and he did say they are 4 or 5 years old, which is usually the point at which he will be replacing them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Councillor, thank you. I think one of the biggest points was we had to put the information to them and he wasn't getting the information to update the site. Because when we had the previous town clerk, she was doing it, but unfortunately she wasn't updating, that's why the information wasn't going to him.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's worth saying that we mentioned that David Shaw says he's he doesn't think the website's acceptable, but he's been saying that since at least spring of last year. So I think Councillor Anderson is right. We really do need to push this forward. It needs to come to the council ASAP in order that we can make decisions. There must be plenty of templates out there for tendering and taking on new contracts for both websites and IT. So I think we should take that forward as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I can help obviously because I'm currently working in IT, so IT projects, so I can help with the tendering process or anything like that. I'm quite happy to.
So this will come to the next, not next week, but the meeting after. Sandwich Town Council.
So in terms of what our next meeting, which is a couple of days away, we'll look at the user requirements. We'll then decide, Colin, beyond that, what we do next. But that should inform the ability to start looking at how we tender.
I just wanted to propose that we accept this report. I noted there was a recommendation in the report about a BCP, and so I just wanted to propose that we take that forward and we vote on that in the report, Mr. Chairman. So
Yeah, I think that's provisional on the risk registers that Karen's referred to. We need to see those first.
Those come through.
Can we minute that we accept that recommendation subject to
Indeed.
further clarification about what we've already got?
Yeah.
I thought it was extended to not just the risk register, but doing a complete
Yeah.
documentation through all of the
Business
existing.
continuity plan will not be covered by the risk register, but component parts might be.
Yes.
I would just second Councillor Carter's.
Okay, so Councillor Carter is proposing
This is for the
Councillor
business continuity
Pennington to
plan.
note and to agree the recommendation with the proviso we made. All those in favour? Thank you. Thanks for that, for the work you've done on that. Next is the 7 is Sandwich Town Council Financial Outturn Summary, attachment 3. Committee is asked to note the year-end report that's produced by the responsible finance officer. Karen, did you want to talk on this?
Yes, a little. What I've given you is a comprehensive summary of the previous financial year, all the transactions, and then in the final column, reasons why there are underspends or overspends. In order to sort of show you what the financial position is for this current year, I just did a summary which shows the balance brought forward, and then the amount of ring-fence reserves we have, and the amount of money that we have at the beginning of the financial year, which is not ring-fenced. So that is just a really brief, crude summary of what the blue spreadsheet is. I've also got a breakdown of the expenditure and the income from last year, those two figures, which are very crude and you probably can't get to grips with them because one of them shows an overspend and the other one shows a lot of excess income. So if you want a breakdown of those figures, I have that as well.
Didn't
Didn't
know what I was looking at.
Same question.
So you can see that the expenditure figure of 840,000 at the top is broken down into the payment for the Guildhall Square, general expenditure, ring-fenced expenditure, and payment of Guildhall salaries, and payment of Sandwich Tobbage Fund salaries. So that's why it looks like an overspend, but if you look down at the income, it's coming back in and the income figure is broken down as a balance brought forward, a general balance, a balance brought forward for Monkswell Nature Reserve, precept figure, Maddox Fund cash allocation that we received, other general town council income, and then the reimbursements from the Guildhall and the Talbot Fund general account. So that shows why those figures are skewed. And I've taken that in the second column, I've taken those figures out so you can see the basic expenditure and income that came in during the year. If you've got any questions on any of the variances, I know it's very small, then
Karen,
please feel free to ask.
the big figure in the spreadsheet is variance of 368,910, which is the loan plus additional monies.
Yes.
What, can you talk about that a bit more?
Could you just say where you are, Colin?
It's in the main spreadsheet,
Yes.
about 2/3 of the way down. It's the big figure of
In orange.
in orange of 368,910.
So the reason why that sticks out is that we had a budget of 3,000 at the beginning of the year for miscellaneous items. We were expecting to pay the forecourt payment to Dover District Council in the previous financial year. We'd received a loan, we were ready to pay, but they weren't ready to receive it. So that's why that slipped into this financial year, and it went under miscellaneous. There were other costs that came during the year that we hadn't specifically budgeted for, which were to do with the election, legal costs, and to do with the property in Strand Street. So that's why that figure is so high, because those things weren't expected.
Thank you. So Alison?
I suspect I'm being a bear of very little brain, and I'm not a great figures person, but what is, I don't understand this concept of reimbursement. Who's being reimbursed?
Sandwich Town Council are reimbursed for salaries that they pay out on behalf of the Talbot Fund.
Oh,
Yes, so that is the largest cost that gets reimbursed.
Obviously,
So
that's a
it's just
percentage.
swapping money from one account to another.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I understand.
Councillor Carter?
I just propose that we note this report and thank the responsible financial officer for her hard work and endeavours to bring us to this committee.
Is that a proposal?
That's a proposal.
No, I was just going to ask about the, you did those little leaflets, did you get the money for the Chamber of Commerce?
We didn't do the town guides last year.
No.
We did in the previous
Previous
financial year. So
They cost a lot of money,
in
didn't
this
they?
financial year, we didn't invoice the
Ah.
chamber because we hadn't reproduced those leaflets and we hadn't had that cost.
So they made about 10,000, didn't it, printed or something?
I think that was the previous
Previous
financial
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really okay.
Yeah.
So I think one of our priorities for this year is to really get to grips with this relationship between the Tonbridge Fund and the Town Council, the 3 bank accounts, the museum account, and try to understand. I think because we're meant to be in charge of this, we need to really understand how it all works, and if possible to try and simplify it. So that's something, once we have the staffing structure in place, I think it's something we need to get to grips with. Obviously for the moment we need to just go with the flow, so to speak. So Councillor Carter's proposing.
That's right. I was just going to add, I don't know if Karen's got any more to add about this, but obviously and I'm not saying, well, that's how we used to do it, so that's how we should do it, but obviously they're two different entities. So we jointly are the trustee of Sandwich Tollbridge Fund, and that is a trust, so that has one set of financial regulations, and Sandwich Tollbridge and Sandwich Town Council is a separate entity, and there's financial regulations that are appertaining to the, and so although it seems a bit clunky and clumsy, unfortunately in a lot of cases that's why there are different variants to those two. So if somebody can help Karen to slim that down, then we welcome that, but unfortunately in a lot of cases there's specific financial regulations to a trust and specific ones to a council, so we need to take the financial officer's recommendations on that.
Yes, while I accept all of that, I think there's a need for us as councillors to really understand. For instance, I would just throw out, at the beginning of the year, the balance brought forward was 501,000, and at the end of the year, the balance going forward is about 435,000. So we've basically spent about £66,000 out of the balance. So where has that gone? Why is it? Is this a trend? Are we going to be bankrupt in 8 years? You know, we just need to have this level of clarity and transparency. And you know, I think we all are keen to work with Karen to help make sure that we're able, not just for ourselves, but also for the residents of the town, understand.
I mean, last year we did have an induction session with Karen, I think, the new councillor. So I think if you haven't done that, that's probably something that's worth repeating. Just to try and
I am
get to
planning
grips
that.
with it.
I've just been doing the audit,
Yeah,
so
of course.
hopefully next week.
Again, it depends on staffing.
No, that is very definitely worth doing, because I really didn't understand what was happening until I sat down with you, following which I think I understand what happened. But I do think that we perhaps might need to consider, dare I mention the name, Working Party, to sit down another one with Karen and really see whether there's a way we could present the accounts in a simpler, more understandable way, so that we and the public can understand better how the council works, because of the property, the Tollbridge Fund, the Guildhall Fund, and so on. So I don't know whether we want to consider that now or maybe consider that another time. It is something I would like to propose.
Oh, I was going to say it's not actually on the agenda for tonight, but I would be happy to second it, that it goes on to the next agenda that we have for this work, this committee.
So can we have that as an agenda item for the next meeting?
And I would also like to propose that on that working party, we should co-op Bob Scruton, who some of you know and have already met and dealt with him, because he is very, very knowledgeable about how to present, how councils can present their accounts in a more readily understandable way than maybe we.
And also propose Councillor Mrs Carter.
And certainly I think Councillor Mrs Carter should be on that
working group.
How much time?
You'll have to find us out.
Yeah,
Let's bring that to the next meeting. As an agenda item. Councillor Street.
and that'd be a part of my proposal for noting this and the recommendation.
So the question I've got is, we're getting financial information, which is great. This is the finance. This is the forum in which finance gets discussed in detail. How regularly do we have a deep dive of the financial information we've got? So a lot of information here, but actually we're just looking at a fairly top level. My question is about when do we really take time out, and I don't mean at the end of the year, to do a deep dive, because we actually, and it's very much back to your steerage, we can steer if we're a little bit off course, we can't steer if we're going in the opposite direction. So I want to know how we quarterly or actually
monthly.
well, monthly might be excessive, because for me, a deep dive, Jeff, is a deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not just another 10
No,
minutes.
I know,
Yeah.
but we do get quite a very detailed account every month, and like with stockbrokers as well, don't we?
Yeah.
We get all our assets from stockbrokers.
Sorry, just following up on that, if I may, I was kindly given the Good Counsellor's Guide to Finance and Transparency. Really, on the first page, at the bottom of the first page, to quote it, it says, and regular financial checks are one of the most important tasks for the council and councillors. And that includes looking at bank statements and, that level of activity.
Yeah, every month.
That's it, yeah. I was just going to reassure everybody that as an authoriser for the payments, you get the payments come through on something called Bankline, and then you can actually query the outgoing payments every month that are made. So Karen does that. That's independent of Karen, so that comes through, and then we get to check those, don't we? And we can query them before we authorise them. So that is another safeguard that's done there as well.
I think, I'm sorry, Councillor.
Yes, I was going to say, I mean, what I would find particularly useful is we have an annual budget, but what I don't have the faintest idea about, as we look at these figures, which are very difficult to read on a monthly basis, but as we look at them, how they relate to that budget. So I have absolutely no idea if we're getting close to overspend, if we've got a big, nice, chunky underspend coming along, and that's what I would like to know in relation to the budget that we set originally.
Each month, there's an income and expenditure statement and a budget variance
Yeah.
on
You
the
do
agenda.
that
Not
information.
this is an extra thing that I put together
Yes,
for my
okay.
own benefit more than anything. But yeah, there's the
It just
standard.
seems so difficult.
But I think our role in terms of managing the finances and being in control of them is to understand, is not to know whether the mayor has spent an extra £10 on a visit, but what the trends are, as Councillor Breen said. We need to know where the big variances are, what the trends are against budget, and whether we're becoming more solvent or more insolvent. That's the key thing.
Yes.
But we do actually get that information.
We do.
Every month.
Yeah.
Aaron said that
Yeah.
statement,
Yes.
income expenditure against the budget,
Yeah,
how it's
I
varied
agree.
against the budget, overspend, underspend. It is all there.
Yeah, but production is one thing.
Yes, I know.
Us as a group of people
Yes.
have to understand what it is that it's telling us,
Yeah.
and I will bash on about in the future if we don't get there is having deep dives into it's mundane, it's tedious, but we need to know how the money's being spent, and we trust what you're doing, Karen, but we need to know ourselves as well.
I was just going to add that if I do get the software system, it will make it a lot easier,
Yes.
because the day-to-day tasks will be swifter,
Yeah.
and there'll be more time for that sort of analysis.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So to just add, Chair, that with the finance system, it have an analytical add-on to it, module of it. So Karen will actually be able to produce, there'll be preset and ad hoc reports that you can get set up. So every month, Karen can actually produce reports which would have graphics, which would help. So it would have, I put a system in myself at Canterbury Council for this, and so it gives you like bar charts and pie charts and all sorts of things like that, so which can be coloured as to whether it's an overspend or underspend, and then perhaps that would give a much better vision of where we are and what's happening. So, and that can also flag up the variances, so like in a bar chart, so you can actually see what's the greatest variance that month, and if there's a trend, you would have a line that would be following it to give it whether it's a trend that's always occurring or not. So, as Karen said, once she's got her new system, she'll be able to produce things a lot easier for us.
I think, I don't wish to preempt any restructuring, but we're also talking about some kind of admin support on the financial side for Karen, so that if Karen's not here, there is someone who can deal with the emergency payments and that kind of thing.
Because that's actually our risk one of our
It is a
risks
risk,
is that
it's a
we've
risk.
got a single point of failure and we've only got one
Yeah.
financial expert.
Okay, so we're being asked to,
Note these.
to note these, that's a proposal from Councillor Carter. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Flanagan, all those in favour? And we'll bring a report to the next meeting with a proposal for a working group to look in greater depth at these financial issues. Is that okay?
Okay.
Right, next item 8, report for the Bulwarks and Holders Gardens play areas, attachment 4. Committee is asked to consider this report from DDC for a proposed partial refurbishment contribution and for the renewal of a service level agreement with DDC for the maintenance of the play areas which has now lapsed. Decisions are required. Any comments on this? Councillor Bennington?
I read the first few words. STC has been contacted by a DDC officer, and I thought, what's going on here? There is no, this doesn't seem to be any preparatory work or analysis of what's going on. I'm happy to see these play areas helped, where they need assistance, but it doesn't seem to me to provide sufficient justification for the expenditure.
And I think building on that, I read it in the same spirit that you did, Martin. I came out with 6 questions that I can't answer. So, who has the DDC officer shared initial discussions and costings with? Why only a partial refurbishment? I can't see any explanation of that in there. Not aware that local residents have been consulted about this. It was 30k in people's heads for years. Why did it end up as 15? And that might be the right answer, but nobody's given the answer as why it ends up being 15k from Southern Water. It talks about the SLA having lapsed. Well, putting in, within the process, put in place a new one, well, it would be really helpful to see the old one to see what we're comparing it against. It talks about re-tendering. Brilliant. But then it gives a quote from a company. So I'm really confused why that's included in there. And then finally, wider point on SLAs and contract. It's a wider point on SLAs and contracts within the council. Every week I move on to find another place where we haven't got an SLA, we haven't got a contract. I think as a finance and general purposes, we should be tasking, not immediately, something that can be built in, actually having a clear view of what our SLAs are, who they're with, when they're likely to end, who our contracts are with, that they are actually in place, so we review them at the right time.
Councillor Carter?
Thank you. I just want to say this has literally been dragging on for about a decade. So you've missed the what's gone before, but this thing to do with particularly the bulwarks, that has been going on for about nearly 10 years. We've been trying to get that refurbished, and I for one I had younger children 10 years ago, and I for one was an advocate for fighting to get this sorted out, and each time they kept telling us, Dover District Council, they said, oh, this bit of equipment hasn't passed the safety test, so we're going to have to take it out. So the playground was getting less and less. But I particularly agree with Councillor Chuka on this one, there's so much water that's gone under the bridge in the last 10 years on these play areas, and the funding has changed over the years, and there's been Dover District Council, we used to have a contract with them to undertake the maintenance and the regular safety checks. It now worries me, the main point that I'm worried about is if that contract with Dover District Council has expired, I'm worried about the safety checks, because there used to be quarterly safety checks to make sure the equipment was safe for the children to use, and so I'm really worried that that's run out now. So I agree with Councillor Chuka, and I would say my proposal would be that we should be going back to this Dover District Councillor, and with Councillor Chuka's 6 questions and any additional ones that anybody else has got, to actually get this mapped out as to where we are and
What
where
would
the
be even
funding.
brilliant, wouldn't it be if the the officer was willing to come and talk to us and actually
Indeed.
present the vision, and then we can collectively, with Dover District Council, agree the way forward. That would be my preference.
I've forgotten what they look like, but
I have to say, when reading this, the forecourt came to mind again.
Yeah.
Because it's yet another
I wrote it.
project where we're being asked to put money in,
Yeah.
and we're not being consulted about
Yeah, we don't know
the product. I mean, these Sputnik things, which
Yes, they look
appear to be
good.
in the proposal, is that what's being put in? I don't think they're appropriate for the key.
But it's only partial, it's a partial refurbishment. What does that mean?
So it seems like they've decided what's going in, and we've got no choice in the matter.
Here's
So,
the bill.
yeah, here's
We
the,
defer this and have a side meeting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we should
Just
defer
put the
it.
officers down there.
Yeah.
I think we should make no decision on this until we get
Yeah.
DDC down here to explain what the current arrangements are for the SLA, the management of those sites,
Yeah.
and how we move forward in terms of putting in, if we are putting in money,
Yeah.
to what degree we're then
That's the
consulted
maintenance, yeah.
and involved in that project.
And what would be really good, Colin, alongside that is a number of items there are broken. So what is happening about fixing them? They've been reported, I know at least one resident has reported them themselves, I believe others have complained at times about it. So we've got a poor state of a playground. So let's not jump ahead with a vision that might come in 2025, which is what we talked about here, when we actually haven't got something there that people are enjoying now.
But, I mean, these facilities are really important, and
Yeah.
they're important to the town, but we need to move it forward quickly, but it has to be done properly. I think. So Karen, could I just ask, you talk about the 166,000, that ring fence some of that is available for this project potentially?
Yes, what I would mention is that we have about 40 grand general reserve.
Yeah.
So you could take 40 grand of that. That is supposed to be an emergency pot for anything, that might happen extraordinary through the year. And then if there were any other known overspends this year or known increases in budget required this year, so bear all of that in mind.
And the other thing in the report is about Section 106 money, and I'm not clear where that money's gone from Montague Place, from Kumar,
that's correct. Yeah,
from
this is.
Bank. I mean, there's
Yeah.
been all these schemes. Where's the money gone?
Yeah, can I just speak on that one? Because Dover District Council, a lot of council, I don't know how many people know about this, but a lot of councils moved over several years ago to something called SEAL,
Yeah.
which was a much fairer system for getting money from the developers. But Dover District Council, unfortunately, has remained with this 106 agreement, where actually Dover District Council and KCC actually get to decide where the money goes. So they actually estimate it. They estimate, say, on Woodensborough Road was 120 properties, Dover Road was only 64 properties. So they actually estimate how much the 106 money should be, but then it's divided up by Dover District Council for, say, KCC, say, for public libraries, Roger Manwoods might get something like that. So we don't actually get a say of where the money normally goes. So that the 106 thing needs to be fully explained.
Well, I was looking at those 106s today for Montague and Kumar, and I couldn't find any reference to a sum of money to be used for infrastructure. All it talked about was affordable housing, shared ownership. So, I think we're being done by some of these developers.
I think as long as it's with the Dover district, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I was at Governor at the infant school, we were after the old air raid shelter, and suddenly it was all planned, suddenly no, and money wasn't managed.
I was working on that as well.
So I think we have a proposal on this, that we respond to DDC with the 6 questions that Councillor Schuker
Better write it neatly then.
wrote down, read out, and that we say we're not happy with the proposal, the preemptive proposal for this equipment which has appeared in this quote.
Yeah.
Is it a tender or is it a single quote? We're not clear. We're not happy with the objects that are being proposed. and we request an urgent site meeting or a visit to this
Yeah.
Guildhall, by the relevant officer to talk to this committee or to a group of officers and the town clerk.
But we are keen that the facility is there and is safe to use.
And it's
Yeah.
safe in the meantime.
Yeah.
And is safe in the meantime. And
Yeah.
we request a copy of the SLA if it's not available in
Yeah.
the.
I know there's at least one freedom of information request that's gone in because of the current disrepair of that facility for the council, the district council, to provide evidence of what they've done in terms of maintenance.
Yeah.
So people are not people are not happy out there about this, and visitors use it. It's such a prime spot, and we need to get it right quickly.
There's a local manufacturer at Nottington, playground equipment, isn't there? Why are we using local people? Well, you know, it's only up the road.
It's not a tender. So that's a proposal. Do we have a second?
Well, I propose.
All those in favour? All those in favour? That's unanimous.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can bring that back to the next meeting. So, next item is number 9, date and time of next meeting, 17th of July at 6:30 in the Guildhall. Thank you very much.
The agenda items for the next